Okay, I didn't know this existed, but we just listened to a bunch of right wing hip hop, and I guess it's on the rise. Let's put that in quotes. Because if I never knew about it, I don't know how on the rise it is. Now, we are in the Midwest, so maybe it just doesn't reach us.
No, and I honestly think there's a reason for that. But it's interesting whenever you look at it, these guys that were doing this, they were associated with a politician out of
Florida.
Ohio.
Oh, Ohio, Florida.
Well, yeah, one of the songs is about Matt Gaetz, which
Yeah.
he's a congressman from Florida, but they're trying to help out this guy that's running for Congress out of Ohio.
Yeah.
And so you watch a couple of songs, and it's being here in the Midwest, knowing the friends that you have, the family, the type of people that are around here. This is the kind of stuff that will turn Republicans off in this area, right? It's a little different, and once again, just like we talked, like what you said with Kid Rock, agree with the message, disagree with the messenger.
Yeah.
Like you probably could have found somebody else that could have provided a little bit better messaging. But Kid Rock, huge name, a lot of star power there, a lot of influence. It's just different to watch him go from rock and roll bad boy to hey, Trump 2020.
Yeah.
And getting in people's faces with the middle fingers. I mean, it's not that you expect any less from Kid Rock. It's just like, oh, that doesn't really look great.
But yeah, I don't know how well face tats and hip hop, even if they're on your side, even if they're promoting what you believe in, I don't know how well that would do, like you said, yeah.
Well, and one of the things we discussed is kind of the shifting in demographics and messaging between the Democrat and the Republican Party. The back in the 60s, you could talk to a lot of old school Democrats that will tell you that JFK was probably the last real Democrat that represented real American democratic values. And then ever since then, there's been a shift to being big party, big money, big politics, a little bit less for the people, a lot more for party and power, right?
And some people would definitely argue that's both sides.
Right. Well, back in the day, Republicans, they were about capitalism and the people that had money. They were about big business. They were about millionaires and billionaires. Of course, there weren't a whole lot of billionaires. There's really been a shift, and it just seems like within probably the last generation, couple of decades, the Republicans have really tried to rebrand as to being a big tent party. Like we're not the people that hate minorities. We don't hate poor people. We don't hate the working class. We're a big tent. We're about Americans and the American experiment, right? Well, there is such a thing as getting too big of a tent, right? You don't want everybody of every stripe with a million different ideas running around inside your tent, because then you have no coherent message for the people you're trying to represent. There's just too much going on.
Well, and I think you can go too far. Like with a lot of this right wing hip hop, it's really making Trump out to be almost a deity, the more than the party.
Right. Well, and obviously, hip hop is a lot of flair. It's about saying flashy things that aren't necessarily true, but you're trying to peacock a little bit whenever you make the music. Yeah, eye catching, ear catching. Some of the stuff you're going to say is going to be outlandish, right? But this is what gives fodder to the other side of, oh, look at these guys. They want to make Trump a king. They want to make him a god. Look how they worship him. Any actual real conservative you talk to, most people prior to Donald Trump running for president, there wasn't too many people that looked at Donald Trump as presidential material. We looked at him as a failed playboy because he's filed for bankruptcy, twice now?
Well, why isn't it not what's best for the party? That kind of started with trying to elect the first black president, the first female president. Why don't we do what's best for the party? Why do we have to? Oh, they're a transsexual. They deserve to be in office. Oh, they're this or that. Why did it turn into that?
That's identity politics, and you use identity politics on your lowest information voter, people that are
Get them on
zero
your side.
issue to one issue, right? People that are worried about women's rights. We'll just say one issue, women's rights. You advertise, hey, we're going to elect the first woman president. That's right up your alley. That is a trigger point for them to go out and vote for.
Step in the right direction.
Yes. Yeah. Right. Republicans really don't engage in identity politics just because they're so.
They better start.
Well, I mean, it's a way, but they just, I don't know if it's the strategist. But once again, you have a lot of people just since Barack Obama's been elected. Look how many people have been really paying attention to politics. It's exploding. There's a lot of people that are watching what's going on now and learning how our government screws us every day, how they waste money, and we go on these fruitless adventures across the world, and we weaponize bureaucracies against Americans that are exercising any amount of rights that they have. People are paying attention to that now. So we don't want to be insulted with identity politics as a low information voter. A lot of us aren't low information voters. You and I can have conversations off the mic for days, weeks about one or two issues and hash it out.
So back to right-wing hip-hop. Is this a good or a bad thing? Do you think they're going to be able to target young people? Because, I mean, a lot of Republicans, they say, you know, obviously their demographic's a little bit older.
Yes. Your younger ones that are being targeted, they're targeted heavily by Democrats at educational institutions, college.
Do you think what you saw today will help young voters
I think
sway?
if you're a Republican strategist, I think a Republican strategist will take a look at this and say, this is something that we play in, maybe we'll put this as advertisements on TV in Miami, in Cincinnati, in Atlanta, in Austin. You do it in your big urban centers because your urban areas, little bit older, a lot more conservative, you know, outside the big city. They're probably not going to react real well to this. They're going to say, what the hell is this? You got these weirdos with tattoos all over their faces. They're saying shit that I can't even understand. It's not making sense to me. Turn it off. Right? So you're not going to get the reaction you like from that demographic outside the city. Yes, this is something that needs to be targeted to a younger audience, either in suburban or urban cores. That's just kind of my take on it. It's, once again, the Kid Rock thing. I mean,
way more enjoyable than this.
a little bit, but once again, you're kind of in no man's land with Kid Rock. I mean, that guy was, I enjoyed him whenever I was young.
Yeah.
Early 20s. He was big. He was huge. So it's nostalgic to see it, but where does he fit in now?
Yeah, we're going to extreme spectrums here.
Right. Yeah. You know, where do these guys fit in? I mean, Republican strategist has to look at this and say, how do we use this to our advantage? You know, if you want to be big tent, use big tent to your advantage. That's just my 2 cents on it.